Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley. The rematch goes down this Sunday. We're going to talk about this matchup once again. It was originally supposed to be Tommy Fury, and Jake Paul was supposed to be tested by a real boxer. Unfortunately, injury, chest infection / broken rib for Fury takes him out of the fight. We now get Woodley, who accepts the fight on 2-week notice. He wants this rematch bad, and we know he doesn't want to lose to Jake Paul a second time, and he's also catching a huge bag. Lots of money on the line here in the boxing ring to fight Jake Paul, who's become the king of the celebrity boxing world at this point. At least he's fighting the real fighters. Smash that like button, guys. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and turn those post notifications on. And let's talk about this matchup once again. Now, on the side of Tyron Woodley, in boxing, he's 0-1. And let's be 100% honest. He's not going to be able to quickly transition his style from MMA striking to boxing striking. It's just not going to happen in a matter of months. And now coming back to fight Jake Paul, who fresher in the fight game, is definitely going to be making more improvements at a quicker rate than Tyron Woodley will be with his boxing. You look at that first fight, Woodley looks square. He looks slow. I mean, he started heating up around the 5th round, and that's where he had some moments. You see him hurt Jake Paul, and I mean, could have potentially knocked him down if they were farther away from the ropes. In this fight, you're fighting Jake Paul again. For Woodley, he needs to be thinking activity. The rate has to be higher from the start. In the last one, the early part of that fight, Woodley did pretty much nothing. Kind of a consistent problem. Woodley, even in MMA, known to look like a deer in headlights. He gets stuck doing nothing. He's just standing there. He's waiting for the one shot. Big factor is in boxing, these are not 4-ounce little gloves. 10 ounces, cruiserweight fight, and he's fighting a guy, Jake Paul, who purely trains boxing. The stance is different, and we saw that in the first fight. Even though I would just consider Jake Paul a mediocre level boxer, he clearly has more understanding of the sport of boxing. Woodley comes from the wrestling base. He comes from MMA striking. When you see him fighting in boxing, he's still too square, and that's why Paul was able to land some nice straight shots. Not super quick on his feet, awkward with the foot movement. Lots of angles in boxing, lots of more lateral movement in mixed martial arts. That was evident. I feel like Paul's just going to keep getting better and better, and now he takes on Woodley again after clearly winning the first fight. I know they scored it a split decision, but I definitely think Jake Paul deserved to win that fight. Of course, the split decision, though, intrigues the people on this rematch more. Woodley refusing to accept defeat, claiming he definitely won that first fight. Well, he gets to right the wrong this Sunday. When I look at this matchup now, I'm expecting a slightly better Jake Paul. Now he's had the experience of going 8 rounds. Before that fight, what did he do? He destroyed Ben Askren in one shot. He knocked out some YouTubers. Now the level is different, and he knocked out Nate Robinson as well, basketball player, in the 2nd round. But now he's actually going in there against Woodley with experience going later, and he's beaten Tyron already. I feel like Paul's confidence is going to be at an all-time high. This fight could have been different than the first one if Woodley would have had a training camp that specifically focused on Paul. Obviously, he was training. He claims he was planning to fight in, I believe, January or February, probably in mixed martial arts. So now the past couple weeks, he's been dialed in on boxing only. That's a problem. That in itself is a problem. You don't see guys master one art while training them all. To be a mixed martial artist, you're focused on MMA. To be a boxer, you're focused on boxing. Trying to do both, it doesn't work. It's just not going to be an effective route. Woodley would probably need a 1.5 years+ of pure boxing training to fix the mistakes he made in that first fight. I don't see there being any bit of enough time for Woodley to look drastically different. The only things he can change are the intangibles. Throw more punches, be willing to eat one to land one, because let's be honest, regardless of the technical boxing difference, which does favor Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley hits hard. Doesn't matter with boxing gloves, MMA gloves, or no gloves. If Tyron Woodley hits you perfectly on the chin, on the temple, or even in the body, he can put you down and end your night. but it's not going to be easy to do because his setups for boxing are shit. There's really not much there. Woodley would really need to get better at working the jab, finding better ways to close distance. Now, he is the shorter guy, but the reach is identical still. Having the range edge in height is still a difference maker versus the reach just being equal. Woodley doesn't have a jab. Paul will be working that jab. He should take notes from the first fight. Get that jab cooking all night. Work the straight punches on Tyron Woodley. Woodley's going to want to get in close. He wants to make this an ugly fight. For Tyron Woodley, getting close, making it dirty, that's his best method or key to victory, really, is make it dirty. Make this a rugged boxing match. Don't let Jake Paul fight from the long and mid-range, which he will be doing. Paul was on that bicycle a lot during the first bout, using the full ring. Obviously, there's a clear-cut difference in experience in pure boxing. What I expect from this fight, more of the same. I believe this bout looks very similar to the first one. Maybe Paul even wins it clearer. We might be looking at a unanimous decision here. Of course, Woodley with his power will have a fighting chance, but realistically speaking, Jake Paul is going to win again. I will predict Jake Paul win by a unanimous decision. I'm thinking probably 6 rounds to 2 this time. Woodley might have a couple moments for certain, and he is in good shape. 5, 6, 7, and 8 are Woodley's best rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, it's tending to be the Paul show. Could Woodley catch Jake Paul cold early in the fight, drop him and knock him out? 100% possible. But winging overhands, looping hooks from far range is just not an effective way to get at the boxer. You look at Jake Paul's stance. He has a nice angle to him. You look at Tyron Woodley. He looks square. Obvious wrestling background in his movement. Obvious MMA background in his whole style, his whole striking game. It's not going to be shifted with enough time. Jake Paul's going to do the same thing again. He's going to beat Woodley, which is going to send Woodley down a disappointing spiral. But when he sees the paycheck, I think he'll get over it because he's going to be making a killing, more money than he'd be making in mixed martial arts at this point. Being nearly 40 years of age right now, it's about setting himself up for generational wealth. And this fight gives him the clear opportunity to do that. Let's look at the betting side of things. Maybe you're trying to make some money on this Tyron Woodley versus Jake Paul fight. You look, Jake Paul right now, highest rate, he's going to be around minus 310. At best value, minus 225. Woodley, the underdog in this matchup, you can get him upwards of plus 255 money, ranging around plus 200. I have Jake Paul winning. I do expect him winning by a unanimous decision. Fight goes the distance. Pretty much even for fight doesn't go the distance. Minus 106, minus 116, depending on your bookie. Plus money on the knockouts. I'm not expecting a knockout on either side. I expect that Paul wins by decision. That's plus 130. I don't believe he knocks Tyron Woodley out. I think he works him for a decision. Even though Jake Paul has shown a bit of punching power, there's a different level to knocking out a guy with the toughness of Tyron Woodley, with the athletic base of Woodley and the muscle frame. I don't see that happening. I see Jake Paul winning a decision over Tyron. If I had to look towards some of the other props, because I do want to see maybe some round props that make sense, I don't see the fight ending 5-6. I really don't feel like anything outside of either fight goes the distance or Jake Paul wins by a decision at plus 130 would be worth your money. I know Tyron Woodley has a puncher's chance here, so if you wanted to sprinkle play something, you can find Woodley wins by KO TKO plus 380 of best value. That might be your best bet because I think it would be really hard to beat Jake Paul on a decision. Even if Woodley did potentially do enough to earn a decision, we've seen corrupt decisions a lot in boxing. And I feel like in this spot, worst case scenario, unless Woodley wins either the clearest of decisions or by knockout, it's a draw or it's a loss. And Jake Paul will be on the right side of things. We are picking Jake Paul for the W. I believe he's going to beat Tyron again. It's going to be disappointing for Tyron Woodley's legacy, his career, but you know what? The paycheck is going to be well worth it. Looking ahead, I need to see Jake Paul versus Fury. Tommy Fury and Jake Paul is still the fight to make after this matchup. I know Paul has said, I'm not going to give him the fight. We're not going to do it again. I believe he'll change his mind. There's a lot of money to be made in that matchup, but it's also a true proving ground fight. If you can beat Woodley again, you're clearly beating these MMA strikers. Obviously, he's not going to get the world champions to come over like Kamaru Usman. Best case scenario is Fury. And then Fury, if he's able to beat him, Who knows? Sky's the limit. Maybe Jake Paul calls it a career after that one. Jake Paul, W again. He's going to go 2-0 over one of the best welterweights in mixed martial arts history, Tyron Woodley. It's great for Jake Paul's confidence. It's unfortunate for the mixed martial arts fans. But at the end of the day, this is boxing, and the boxer wins regardless of if he's Jake Paul or not. Jake Paul, win. Unanimous decision. Smash that like button, guys. Subscribe if you're new to the channel and turn on those post notifications too. And I will see you all in the next video. Peace.